Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video. In this video we're going to be looking at 6-star Romanov, who is a legacy character that's coming to the game. This is what the 5-star character looks like. We know what he looks like, we all know. 5-star Romanov was a great character in the 5-star world, really strong decapitate, and he had massive amounts of damage output. As a 6-star character, this is what he looks like, and if I'm honest, not the sort of character that we saw as a 5-star. He's massively gutted out as a character. He's not going to have the same damage output at all. And honestly, it's not the character we needed, let alone deserved, realistically, as a legacy attacking character to come out. We need a damage dealer that actually does damage. I'm going to give a quick overview of his stats, his rush, his active skill, specialist skill, and weapon. And then we're going to break down where I think they've gone wrong in this character. And it's in multiple places, unfortunately. So we'll look at his stats. He's got 1,988 attack, 1,720 defense, and 1,666 HP. He is remaining as an alert character and his role is still classified as damage, but the first place they've gone wrong is that stat is very low. 1,988 attack is awful, and his stat balance is, generally speaking, a support character's stat balance, not a damage dealer's. If we look at his rush, it's called Bewildering Fire. It's 76 AP cost, it deals 500% damage and impair for 2 turns to 1 enemy. This is another place they've gone wrong in multiple ways. They've removed a lot of the damage output with the burn damage that was originally on this character as a 5-star. It now has no burn damage and it's still called Bewildering Fire for some reason. Where's the fire? There's no flames, there's no burn, there's nothing like that. So it's really strange that this rush is even called this in the first place. If we look at his active skill, it's called Burn and AP Gain. It has an initial cooldown of 3, cooldown of 2, and number of uses 5. Deal 400 burn damage for 3 turns to 1 enemy. This character gets 35% AP. I think they've messed up this active skill in multiple ways. Again, we'll break it down at the end, but I don't think this active skill is that great, if I'm honest. Definitely one of the best things about this character is the specialist skill. The fact that he's kept it. There were a lot of people theorizing that he could become a fire starter. Decapitate is not as useful as it once was, but it's still pretty useful in that if he takes someone down, at least they can't be picked up. It probably is a 6 to 12-month-year-old meta at the moment, in terms of it was massively an issue 6 to 12 months ago, not as much of an issue now, and it generally seems like free-to-play legacies come out way after they're really actually needed within the free-to-play player base. Now, he does have his own attached weapon, and it is Romanov's Violent Modded Blowtorch. So he keeps the Blowtorch that he had as a 5-star. It has 30% attack base on it, which is great. A medium bonus to AP when attacking. Obviously, this is the upgrade slot. You can do whatever you want here, but I would go with AP on attack just to get that rush off a bit quicker. Now, his third slot, probably a lot of people may think this isn't great, but it is actually better than what you can craft in the armory. When attacking, a better chance to cause minus 35% defense for 2 turns to the enemy, and considering how tanky these defense teams are right now, this is going to be massively useful, not just for Romanov himself, not just for his rush that he'd obviously get off, but also for the team he'd be rolling with. The amount of attack output other people's rushes would have would be really high. And I think this is probably one of the best things about this character, is that third slot. Even though it's not a trait special, the only other real options you could have on an alert character would be stun on defense and maybe AP down on attack. Maybe splash damage. I don't think any of those 3 would be as useful as this personally for an offensive character that would go on an attack team. This is actually a pretty good 3rd slot special, and I would definitely keep this if you were planning on having Romanov in an attack team. Now let's break down Romanov and where they've gone wrong. First off, like I said, the stats. 1,988 stat is very low for an attacking character. It's actually below the average for damage dealers within the 6-star Generation 1 era. We're going to compare him directly to a character very soon, and you're going to see how much of a laughing stock this is, if I'm honest. We'll now look at the rush. 76 AP cost is really good. We have seen a lot of free-to-play characters come out where they've been 85 ARs, just basically instantly making that character useless. I did fear the worst for Romanov just because he is a massively heavy-hitting character as a 5-star. He is not going to be that as a 6-star, unfortunately. The rush has been brought down to 500%. The precedent generally set with single target damage dealers is 550%. We see it on Shiva, we see it on Red Gov, we see it on Fast Rick. 550% to 1 enemy, and they also get like a little bit extra. This is 500% to 1 enemy and that little bit extra. But this character is worse than a character that was released 1.5 years ago. It's going to take quite a long time to get to this character, but when I originally saw this character, I was like, this looks exactly like this character, but worse. Red Governor was released, I believe, in March 2018, which is a year and a half ago pretty much. He has 7 more attack stat. Now you might think 7 attack stat, that's not that much. He's a Generation 1 character. Generation 2 Romanov has got less attack than a Generation 1 damage dealer. Please tell me that isn't right. That doesn't make any sense at all. Now we compare the rushes. 550% for Governor, 500% for Romanov. Again, he's got more attack percentage on his rush. Now not only that, but he also impairs, but he impairs 3 and Romanov impairs 2. Romanov is literally worse in every single way when it comes to stats and his rush. As a Generation 1 Legacy character, not a promo, a Legacy character that was released a year and a half ago. Now the Governor is not useful in today's meta at all. His stats are too low. He has got Neutralize. Again, the specialist skill is probably the only reason anyone would really use Governor at the moment. They're not going to use it for the fact that he's got good damage output. They'd have to tank him out massively just based on the fact that he hasn't got much defense. Now, we don't need that in the 6-star Generation 2 era within Legacy characters. We need a heavy hitting damage dealer. And right now we've just been given a character that does less damage than the character that was given out a year and a half ago. And it was even in the Pathways event for Piper just a couple of weeks ago. So Romanov's rush, a massive swing and a massive miss. This is just not a damage dealer's rush at all in the Generation 2 era. Now we move on to the active skill, and the initial cooldown of this 100% should have been turn 2. Then you could at least make it work to a certain extent. You could have 2 fast characters with AP gain, 8% AP gain weapons, and he could get his rush for turn 3 after using his active skill. Right now, he'd have his rush for turn 3, so you've got to say, do I rush or do I do an active skill? 99% of the time you're going to do your rush. If you use your active skill on turn 3, you're not even going to get the AP gain. It seems obviously intentional because it isn't an AP gain active skill at this point. If you're going to use it on turn 3, he gained no AP because he would be full AP at that point. Now the burn is the same as what's been removed from his 5-star rush. When it got promoted to 6-star, he didn't keep that burn on the rush. He got that removed, so massive damage reduction on that. But it's also still remained at 400 damage for 3 turns to one enemy. That was good in the 5-star era. In the 6-star era, characters have 3 or 4 times more HP. You know, 1,200 damage over 3 turns is literally nothing. It's not anything. Most characters on defense teams are going to have some sort of healer. That 400 damage is going to be healed up real quick. Every 3 turns, characters on defense teams rush. You know, that can be cleansed now. That can even be resisted. So, I mean, most people won't run burn resist, but at the same time, burn is not as powerful as it once was, and you've made it exactly the same power as it was as a 5-star. So again, the active skill, massive swing and a miss. And very small things could have made that better. Initial cooldown of 2 would 100% have made that actually just semi-viable as an active skill. But the fact that it's got an initial cooldown of 3, nope. Now the specialist skill, being Decapitate, is great. But like I said, we needed this 6 months ago. We needed this 12 months ago. When we had Regina get released, that was where a lot of people were desperate. Begging. Well, actually, it was probably seasons before that when I was asking for Decapitates in the seasons. Regina was released as a really terrible offensive character, and she's turned into a really good defensive character completely by accident, and free-to-play have now got a decent defensive character. Actually, probably one of the more annoying free-to-play characters out there in terms of on-defense damage dealers, because it's very hard to deal with her, the amount of damage output she can have. She would almost be like a promo. I'm almost definitely guessing that after how Regina was used, they used that sort of mechanic to design someone like Zachary. Now, when it comes to Romanov, he's just a letdown overall, if I'm honest, and this is the only character that we're probably going to get this year who's going to be a damage dealer. The next damage dealer legacy character we're probably going to have to wait until 2020, because the other leaks we know are all defensive, and it was literally everything was riding on this character being decent. And Romanov is only the 7th character this year to be released in Legacy Ascendables. And we're in the 8th month. We've had 2 other attacking characters in Sawyer and Jackson, and they were both absolutely terrible. I just want to know what we're meant to be able to do with the sort of characters we're being presented with. What are we meant to battle here? There's no enjoyment on this. I made obviously a test card just for fun. I like doing the test cards when the leaks come out just to have some fun. And this was my character. Now, obviously, for me, there's a lot going on with this rush. I massively overtuned his rush, but I basically did what has been done on free-to-play Ascendables in the past, which is just keep the 5-star rush, and that's what I did, and just add a little bit more. This character would have been a slow starting character, and then just got progressively faster as the fight went on, which means that people who buy promos would win their fights fast, which is generally what you want to do. Romanov would not help with that, but he would help with making fights finish quicker at the end, rather than it taking like 20 turns for some people. It would take like 12, which is reasonable against some of these heavily promoted character teams. Majority of those promo character teams will still probably defend teams with Romanov that I built in there. So it wouldn't even make that much of a difference to a lot of people's attack teams. It just would have been quite a fun character to have, if I'm honest. And the character we've received instead has just been absolutely terrible, unfortunately. So unfortunately that was Romanov, guys. I am really disappointed with how he's turned out. He'll still do some damage, but he's worse than a Generation 1 Red Governor. And that just says it all pretty much. And considering this is the first Legacy Ascendable to be released since those promises that we received, and when you compare it to the first promo that got released, which was Ryan, I think we're hearing loud and clear what Scopely really think about the community right now. And it definitely isn't about balance within free-to-play and pay-to-win, which is one of the biggest things that was requested from Players United, and it's been massively ignored. That's the end of my video, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.